Hey everyone, welcome back to our first episode of our MM7 Let's Play with actual gameplay. I think this is episode 2 or 3, depending on whether I call the intro video episode 1 or episode 0. Still haven't decided on that yet, but that's not something that you have to worry about. One thing I do want to point out before we get into it is that I did go back and make the party again with a couple slight changes. The only thing is, instead of repair, I gave merchant to our cleric, Serena, and instead of, I think it was alchemy? Yeah, it was alchemy. Instead of alchemy, I gave air magic to Alexis, our sorcerer. Which I think are going to be a bit more useful early on, because like repair costs for the kind of gear we have right now aren't going to be that big of a deal, whereas getting extra money for, you know, selling something like this, for example, will help us a lot more. So as we did in Might and Magic VI, we're going to start out by equipping our gear. Rings are going to go straight to our merchant to be sold. Nice, a pearl ring. Would have been even nicer with an enchantment, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. Let's give you your dagger as well. And for now, all the alchemy ingredients are going to go to the person who will be our eventual alchemist. Of course, that is Alexis. Even though she doesn't currently have alchemy because I gave her air magic instead. Which
This should be useful. This should be useful.
is gonna be more useful. Featherfall, the spell that she learned just now, that's not gonna help that much. But what is gonna help is this spell, Wizard Eye. In fact, it's gonna be kind of crucial in this episode. Now, this is the beginning. Let's walk a bit, because something's gonna happen. Yes. The tutorial NPC has a few things to say, and her dialogue will trigger at various points in this tutorial island. Not just a tutorial island, because there is some serious stuff to do here, but the game will also ease you into it, and she helpfully has taken up that task. And she welcomes us to Emerald Island and tells us she'll be our guide. And she also tells us that if we don't want to listen to her, we can just tell her to stop talking, but we'll listen to what she has to say. Now, let me just save the game again as new game 2. Very creative names as always. Oh, I also fixed the kind of the turn sensitivity, which was kind of crazy. I changed it from whatever 32x or 16x it was to smooth, and it's much better now. Okay, so now, since this is the first episode, you might expect... Okay, that's a bit of a bug, I guess, that if you walk back, then the same dialogue will trigger over and over again. So I guess we may eventually have to turn her off if we don't want to keep seeing the same messages. But anyway, we'll think about that later. For now, what I was gonna say was, this being the opening episode, you might expect that we're gonna take it slow, we'll walk around, see what the opening stages of the quest line are like, see what there is to do in the island, talk to the merchants, you know, this and that. But I'm sorry to tell you, but you're wrong. You are so wrong. You could not possibly be more wrong. What we're gonna do is we're gonna walk here, completely sidestepping everything on the island that we're supposed to go to. We're gonna walk all the way around. All the way around until we see this ominous looking cave. Now, the reason I've come here is because if you watched the opening cinematic, which fortunately did get recorded properly, if it looks kind of weird, it's just because, you know, in the 90s, cinematics weren't necessarily the most realistic looking. But anyway, if you remember that, it told us a bunch of things about this island where we are here on a scavenger hunt. We've got some general sense of direction as to where the game wants us to go, but also, kind of in passing, they mentioned that there's a cave on this island rumored to have a dragon in it, and they kind of spoiled that for us by actually showing the dragon in the opening cutscene itself. So we know for a fact that there is a dragon. The reason I've walked all the way here is that the first thing we're gonna do in this game, and I'm completely serious about this, the very first action we're gonna take is we're gonna kill this dragon. Now, you might ask, hang on, Ali, that's a bold statement to make. You're only at level 1. Not only that, but...
I learned it!
Wow, she was pretty enthusiastic about that. I'm kind of thrown off by how into it she was, but you know what? Good for her. What I was gonna say was, you might be questioning my wisdom and perhaps even my sanity at this point. Like, how are you gonna take down a dragon with 4 characters at level 1, only 2 of which even have bows, which is the only way we will have essentially to damage this legendary creature? And the answer is, we're gonna take this dragon down. Like, how are we gonna take this dragon down? The answer is very, very slowly and very, very carefully. In fact, it's gonna be so slow that while I will record the entire dragon fight, I will be speeding it up, and I think I'll only bring it back to normal speed for the killing blow. And why am I doing this? Well, I'll talk about it once it's actually done. So we're here at the mouth of the dragon cave, and yep, we're gonna go in. But before we go in, I've actually gotta pause this video for a bit, because I have to mentally and physically prepare myself for what I'm about to do, because it's gonna be long, it's gonna take some concentration, it's gonna take a lot of save scumming, and because literally a single hit, even the lowest possible damage roll, will be instant death regardless of who gets hit. So if any of my characters die, especially if any of my 2 ranged damage dealers die, I will be instantly loading the game. So I will be sparing you the bulk of that by, as I said, speeding things up. But before that, as I said, I've got to do a bit of prepping. Mainly, I've just got to make sure I've got a bottle of water, because it's going to be a long, tedious process. You've got to stay hydrated. And yeah, and you know, just steeling myself, you know, just building up that mental toughness to take on this daunting task. So, I'm sure I've already saved my game. No, I haven't. Let's make another save. Let's actually give this a real title. Let's call it Pre-Dragon. That's kind of descriptive. And let's put this video on pause. It'll be instantaneous for you, but for me, I'll have spent a few minutes making sure everything's ready. Alright, so let's do exactly that. Alright, we're back. I'm back. I'm ready, I've got my bottle of water, and we're about to go in and do this ill-advised thing. Before we go in, we're going to cast Wizard Eye. That's going to be pretty important. Now, the reason that is, well, first of all, Margaret is gonna warn us, and she's not wrong in what she's about to say, in that it's not wise to enter this cave. There's a terrible dragon inside. I guess they're not even pretending, beating about the bush, they're just straight up telling you there is a dragon in here, and few who enter leave alive. If you really want to enter, just click on the on the back wall of the cave. I mean, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, this is a bit annoying that the dialogue keeps triggering, but we'll keep Margaret there. She's just repeating herself, I guess, because maybe she was so dumbfounded that we kept going forward that she's like, maybe you didn't hear me. I'll just tell you again that there's a dragon inside. Okay. That aside, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna say now, Wizard Eye, which I just cast, I keep alternating between Wizard Eye and Wizard's Eye. I think it's just Wizard Eye without the S. So Wizard Eye is important because there isn't just a dragon inside this cave. To start out, there are also going to be some rats. And one new thing in this game, which wasn't in Might and Magic VI, is that now enemies can also fight each other. Whereas in Might and Magic VI, it was only combat between enemies and the player's party. So even enemies that in theory should be hostile among each other, like the civilians in a town and the monsters around them, they couldn't directly fight each other. So that is different now in Might and Magic VII, where enemies actually will occasionally fight each other. And you'll see an example of this in this cave. Now the reason Wizard Eye is important is because it'll let me see on the mini-map what's alive and what's dead. I don't want to get close to the dragon until all the rats are dead, because if I attempt to do that, then the rats are going to start fighting me instead, or they'll get in my way, and then the dragon will just end our, sorry, miserable existence, and it'll just be a bad time. So that is why I've opted to go with Wizard Eye, which we can cast 35 times, and it'll last how long? 1 hour per point of skill. Now, an hour in this game isn't literally an hour. It's, as you can see, from the center of the screen, just, that little bar just above the character portraits, the minutes advance pretty quickly, but still, being able to cast this 35 times is going to be enough. In fact, once there's only one enemy left, we won't need it anymore, because we'll just know intuitively where it is. It's when you're fighting multiple enemies. That's when Wizard Eye is more important. So I'm just going to cast it again, because I'm worried it's about to expire. Was there anything else I wanted to say before I jumped in? Yeah, I think that's about it. So we're just gonna go in, and okay, Margaret warns us for a third time, and we're just gonna ignore her, and ominous animation plays. We can see the dragon's glowing eyes, and we're just gonna go in. Now, you can see the dragon
What's that smell?
is fighting some rats, and unfortunately some
It
rats
doesn't even hurt.
have decided to come towards us instead. I am gonna keep running until there is only one red dot. And when there's only one red dot, that will tell me that there is only the dragon left. Because in a fight between dragons and rats, chances are the dragon's gonna win. Okay, now I'm gonna save this again in a new slot, and pretty soon I'm gonna start speeding things up. I'm gonna call this mid-dragon fight. And this is gonna be my running save, the one which I'll keep loading anytime one of my characters gets hit. In fact, I'll demonstrate that right now. Yep, I deliberately got hit, just to show you that this is what happens if you take a single hit from this dragon. Now, before I start speeding things up, I'm gonna do one final thing, which is I'm gonna go to my phone and I'm gonna start my stopwatch. Now, I know I could see the duration of my fight afterwards anyway, just by looking at the video when I'm editing it, but I want to know right away. I want to know how long it takes, and my guess is it's gonna take half an hour. If the reason I'm giving such a long estimate is that, yes, technically, if I was standing still without interruption, firing as quick as I could probably take the dragon down in less time than that, but I'm gonna spend a lot of my time dodging in between, and I'll also be losing time every time I have to reload. So we'll see how close my estimate was to the mark. But anyway, I'm gonna start my stopwatch now, and you should be seeing the game go on, you know, the super funny, you know, high speed right about now. But don't worry, I'm not gonna put yakety sax on as the soundtrack for that. No matter how tempted I might be to do that, no, I'll just probably leave it silent. Alright, stopwatch started now, and entering dragon fight now. Okay, I think we're close enough that I'm gonna take this off the fast forward mode and take this last bit of health down on the dragon in real time. One little trick that I've been using is if you hold right click, even if you're in real-time mode, you can essentially pause the game like I'm doing here. And then while you have right-click held, you can hover around and...
I don't know what that is.
...take a look at different things that, you know, respond to you right-clicking on them. And the main things are items on the ground, which we don't care about just yet, but also, and what we do care about, is you can highlight enemies and see, for example, how much health they have left. And this amount of health, I think, is enough for me to take down without, oh my god, without slowing the game, without speeding the game up. But as you can see, oh my god, have I doomed myself? No, no. I just needed to extract myself from that tricky spot because I think I saved while he was mid-shot, and that gave me less time to respond. Alright. Come on, let's not make this any longer than it needs to be. By the way, one thing I should mention, before going into this fight, I predicted, like, oh, it'll take about half an hour, I could do it quicker, but I'll be running around. Guess how long it's taken so far? I have the stopwatch running, I can see it, it's been 1 hour and 27 minutes, and still going. Still going. Oh. But we're almost done. As I said before we started this fight, we were gonna do this, and the way we were gonna do it was slowly and carefully. I just underestimated how slow and how careful we would need to be. Once the fight is over, I'll have a few more things to say about the fight itself and also about the series and where it'll go from here. And please, please die. Just please die. Oh my god, he's so close. He's so close. I, for a second, thought I'd killed him because I heard... like, I was so ready for him to die that I thought I'd heard the death sound effect, but no, it was just, you know, an auditory mirage. It was just a sound that my brain tricked me into thinking I heard when I had not actually. Okay, come on, let's not lose concentration. We're almost at the finish line. Slow and steady is gonna win the race. Yes! Yes! Oh, we did it. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a new save. Let's call this Post-Dragon. That almost sounds like a weird, obscure music genre, but you know, we've killed the dragon, and this is after that, so it's an apt description for this file. A few things to say about this fight. And I may actually upload the uncut footage as a separate file on the channel, and if I do that, it won't be part of the playlist. I'll put a link to it in the description for anyone who wants to put themselves through the same torture that I did. By the way, it's 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 50 seconds now, and I'm gonna stop the stopwatch. Really, we killed him about 20 seconds ago, so it was just under 1 hour and a half. So a few things to say about this fight. Number one, occasionally, so before the fight I said, the moment we take a hit, we're gonna die. And for the most part I was correct, but occasionally Serena would, instead of dying, be knocked unconscious. And since she has 35 health, and these two have more than her, I guess I was incorrect. I was overestimating the amount of damage the dragon does. So if he does a low damage roll, it's possible that you won't die, but chances are you will be knocked out. Another thing that happened was in the middle of the fight, because it took so long and we, you know, transitioned into the next game day because our characters had been awake so long, they got the weakened status effect on them, and that's really annoying because what weakened... Well, one thing that weakened does is that it reduces the amount of damage you do. I think even ranged damage, because I noticed I was doing a lot less damage while I was weakened than I normally do, and there are 2 ways to deal with that. Well, 3 ways if you count temples, but the main way to deal with it yourself without paying someone else to do it is either to cast well, one way is to cast the Cure Weakness spell, but the problem is it only works if you're weak less than 3 minutes per point of skill. The problem with that is that at skill level 1, you almost have no time. Like, you would have to cast it instantly after the status effect triggers. Body Magic is the relevant spell school here. And if you don't, in my case, I wasn't able to cast the spell in that window because I was too busy running away from the dragon, then it's pretty much there for good. Fortunately, there's one other way to deal with that, and that is if you mix a yellow ingredient, the poppy snaps, into an empty potion bottle, you get a yellow potion of Cure Weakness, and that'll work regardless of how long you've been weakened. Actually, I'm not sure, but like, I'm not sure if it works regardless of how long you've been weakened, even if it's, you know, days and weeks, or if it's just like a high level, like the equivalent of a high level Cure Weakness spell, in which case it would have a limit. That's something to investigate in like a post-series, you know, game mechanics testing video. For now, suffice it to say that I used 2 of those to cure weakness on my knight and my thief, so that they could continue doing good damage to the dragon. Another important thing, now we're transitioning into what this means for the series. We are not going to loot this dragon corpse in this video. We're gonna leave it there for a reason that I will explain in the next video. Although next video might be a strange one. You'll see what I mean when you get to the next episode. For now, just suffice it to say I'm gonna not loot this dragon corpse. He's just gonna stay there chilling. One thing I'll note that I might have been able to do, depending on how much gold is on the ground. That was 100, that was 87. That's 56.
I don't know.
And there actually is a longbow on the ground. Oh, you know what I should have done? I didn't notice this longbow was there, but if I had picked it up, who got that? Oh, you got that. So you'll notice your shooting damage is 428, and your shooting attack bonus is +1. I could have gotten a bit of extra accuracy out of that, but I was so focused on the dragon that I wasn't even... Whoa, that didn't mean to do that. See, this is exactly why you save the game. I think my touchpad glitched out a little bit and made me click when I didn't want to. But anyway, so with that legendary dragon kill out of the way, and with the few things that I wanted to say about the fight out of the way. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say was that if I had picked up these piles of gold, and, you know, one thing I did notice was, for example, there's...
I don't know.
like, there were gauntlets on the ground.
Let's leave it behind.
There's this scroll. I might have been able to go out...
Let's leave it behind.
A chainmail as well. I might have been able to go out of this fight, go to the town, go to the weapon store, teach bow skill to an extra party member, and maybe...
Beats the heck out of me.
Let's leave it behind.
maybe buy a bow, but number one, I don't know if we would have enough money to teach a bow skill and buy a bow. And number two, I just wanted to get it done in one go. And number three, I'm a stubborn person, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it with level 1, with our starting equipment, and nothing else, just to prove that if I can do it, then you can do it too, especially if you know, have a better build for this fight. For example, if you went in with something like I don't know, 2 archers and 2 rangers, and they all started with bow, you would have a much better time. Or if you know, did some other quests, got a bit of gold, bought some better bows, that would have helped as well. But you know what? Just because I hate admitting defeat, once I started the fight with my starting gear, I'm like, I'm gonna finish the fight with my starting gear. The other reason I couldn't leave mid-fight is that while you're in the room with the enemy, if you save and load the game, the damage you do to them will be preserved. But if you leave and come back, then they will be back at full health. In fact, not just leaving and coming back, also one thing I tried to do when I was weakened, I was trying to be clever, is I ran to the opposite end of the room where technically the game allowed me to rest. And resting did cure the weakness, but unfortunately it also set the dragon back to max health, which is something that was not conducive to my goals. So I instead opted to use the potions instead. Okay, so I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. As I mentioned, there's a reason we did this. Like, it wasn't just because it's fun to kill dragons, although spending an hour and a half essentially just holding down buttons might be stretching the definition of fun a little bit. But, I mean, it's satisfying, I guess that's a more apt way to put it. It's satisfying to kill dragons, especially without going in with some overpowered build. But more importantly, like, there are actual implications for this series and for this Let's Play. And without giving anything away, although if there are any veteran MM7 players watching, you'll probably know exactly what I have in mind. But for the rest of you, without spoiling it, what I will say is that killing this dragon is probably the single most important thing I will do, because it will help me achieve what would otherwise have been the most difficult goal for the series. And I spoke about the goals I have with the series, I think in the opening video, where I talked about what kind of a Let's Play this is going to be. I also talked about it a little bit in the character creation video. But yes, as to what exactly that goal is and how this dragon is going to help us, for that you'll have to join me in the next video. I think this one has taken long enough. I've spoken long enough, just running around in this room with this dead dragon just basking in the glory. Like, I've spoken long enough, but more importantly, I've been sitting in this chair long enough, and I need to go stretch my legs and my arms and just everything in general, and just be away from the computer for a while. So anyway, I hope you'll join me in the next episode. And until then, I don't need to save again. So until then, take care.